mural is a painting that is done directly on a wall. Sometimes murals tell stories, like the ones located in the Great Hall of the Indiana State Library. The title of this mural is The Winning of the State. It shows 3 separate historical events, all related to the land that would eventually become Indiana in 1816. Indiana means land of the Indians. Before colonists and settlers arrived here, many indigenous tribes called this land home, including the Miami, Piankashaw, Wea, Potawatomi, Kickapoo, Mascoutin, Delaware, and Shawnee. During the American Revolutionary War, the British and the French had forts for trade and military reasons in the land that would become Indiana. Fort Sackville, located in Vincennes on the Wabash River, was held by the British. In February of 1779, an American military officer, George Rogers Clark, led his troops to take Fort Sackville from the British. In this scene, British Lieutenant Governor Henry Hamilton hands over his sword in surrender to George Rogers Clark. In 1794, Michiconnequa, also known as Chief Little Turtle, and others led an army of indigenous people from various tribes into battle against Americans led by General Anthony Wayne. Although Michiconnequa had won battles in the past, General Wayne and his soldiers defeated the indigenous fighters in the Battle of Fallen Timbers. This loss led to the Treaty of Greenville. Here we see General Wayne and Michiconnequa meeting to sign the treaty. This treaty transferred ownership of land that became not only part of Indiana, but also Ohio, Michigan, and Illinois from the indigenous tribes to the United States government. Another treaty important to the formation of Indiana was the Treaty of St. Mary's. While these treaties set formal boundaries, Americans often ignored this and continued to encroach on tribal land. Over several decades, Americans gained ownership of tens of millions of acres of land through treaties with indigenous tribes. Some indigenous leaders cooperated with the United States government, while others believed that the land belonged to all tribes and that it should not and could not be sold through treaties between the American government and 1 or 2 tribes. One such leader was Tecumseh, a Shawnee. He and his brother, Tenskwatawa, led a movement and organized different groups of indigenous people to resist the advancement of Americans. In the summers of 1810 and 1811, Tecumseh met with William Henry Harrison, governor of the Indiana Territory. Here we see them meeting at William Henry Harrison's home in Vincennes, the capital of the Indiana Territory. While Tecumseh was trying to preserve as much land as possible for the indigenous tribes, it was William Henry Harrison's job as territorial governor to acquire as much land as possible for settlement. The 2 men were unable to come to a compromise during their meetings, which led to the Battle of Tippecanoe. In 1816, the federal government approved Indiana to become a state. This mural is called The Building of the State, and it shows what people did to make Indiana a nice place to live. Here we see people both real and symbolic who helped shape Indiana. Before Indiana became a state, there were no state laws or public schools. A state constitution had to be written so Indiana could become a state. Our Constitution was rewritten in 1851 and has continued to change over time. As the preamble or introduction of the Constitution states, the purpose of this document is to establish justice, maintain public order, and preserve liberty. Here we see men chopping down trees, one of Indiana's natural resources. Natural resources are substances that occur in nature, like wood, water, and minerals that can be sold for profit. Limestone is another one of Indiana's natural resources. Local limestone, sandstone, and wood from walnut trees were used to make this library, as well as buildings in other faraway places. Here we see farmers and factory workers producing food and goods for Hoosiers, as well as people in other states. Industry and agriculture are both still important parts of Indiana's economy. Today, Indiana is known for growing corn, soybeans, peppermint, tomatoes, and watermelon. The next time you see a mural, see if you can figure out the story it's trying to tell you.